What happens when one strike changes the balance of an already fragile region? Recent reports indicate that Iran has targeted and hit Israeli ammunition warehouses, an event that immediately raises pressing questions about the stability of the Middle East, the potential for escalation, and the strategic responses that may follow. Welcome back to DANZEL WASHINGTON GOLDEN WORDS, the channel where we break down complex world events into clear, balanced, and thought-provoking analysis. Today, we're diving deep into the latest developments between Iran and Israel, examining the broader consequences of this strike and asking the key question: what happens next? To understand the significance of this incident, we need to first look at why ammunition warehouses are such a critical target. In military strategy, supply lines and storage facilities are often considered the backbone of a nation's defense and offensive capability. Ammunition depots, in particular, represent both a symbol of preparedness and a functional hub that sustains prolonged military operations. By striking these facilities, Iran is not only attempting to weaken Israel's logistical support, but also sending a strong political and strategic message. However, the implications of this act go far beyond the immediate damage. In the short term, the destruction of ammunition warehouses could potentially slow down or complicate Israel's capacity to maintain high-intensity operations if tensions escalate further. Yet Israel has historically demonstrated resilience and adaptability, often having multiple layers of redundancy in its defense planning. Therefore, while the strike may cause tactical disruption, it is unlikely to cripple Israel's overall military readiness. The deeper story lies in the signaling, the message Iran is sending not only to Israel, but to the wider international community. This act could be interpreted as a warning, a show of capability, and an assertion of influence in a region already marked by competing interests and fragile alliances. From Iran's perspective, such actions often serve dual purposes, outwardly demonstrating military reach, while inwardly reinforcing domestic narratives of strength and resistance. For Israel, the challenge now is to craft a response that maintains deterrence without triggering uncontrollable escalation. Historically, Israel has responded to similar provocations with precision strikes, covert operations, or diplomatic pressure through international partners. The dilemma lies in balancing retaliation with restraint, as overreaction could ignite a broader conflict, while underreaction might embolden adversaries. Beyond the immediate players, this incident also carries implications for the United States, regional Arab states, and global powers with vested interests in Middle Eastern stability. The United States, as Israel's primary ally, will be watching closely to assess whether additional support or diplomatic intervention is required. Meanwhile, countries such as Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, which have cautiously navigated their relationships with both Israel and Iran, may find themselves recalculating their positions in light of shifting regional dynamics. Another important layer is the impact on global markets and international security. Even the perception of instability in the Middle East often sends shockwaves through energy markets, influencing oil prices and global economic confidence. Investors, policymakers, and ordinary citizens worldwide may feel the ripple effects of what, on the surface, might seem like a localized event. Furthermore, we must not ignore the humanitarian dimension. Whenever tensions escalate between nations, civilian populations bear the greatest burden. Heightened insecurity, the potential for displacement, and the constant threat of escalation create an environment of uncertainty and fear that extends well beyond the front lines. In analyzing what happens next, three potential scenarios emerge. The first is controlled escalation, where Israel responds with limited, targeted actions designed to signal strength without sparking full-scale conflict. This would allow both nations to demonstrate resolve while leaving room for de-escalation through diplomatic channels. The second scenario is prolonged shadow warfare, where both sides engage in covert operations, cyber attacks, and indirect actions through proxies, prolonging tensions without direct large-scale confrontation. This has been a common pattern in recent years and may continue as both nations seek to avoid outright war while still contesting influence. The third and most concerning scenario is rapid escalation, where tit-for-tat actions spiral into a broader conflict, drawing in regional and global powers. While less likely, this scenario cannot be ignored, especially given the volatility of the region and the complexity of alliances at play. In considering these outcomes, it is essential to recognize that international diplomacy will play a decisive role. The United Nations, the European Union, and influential regional actors may step in to mediate, urging restraint and offering pathways to reduce tensions. The success of such efforts will depend on the willingness of both Iran and Israel to prioritize long-term stability over short-term gains. Ultimately, the strike on Israel's ammunition warehouses is less about the immediate damage and more about the messages it sends and the decisions it compels. For Iran, it is an assertion of capability. For Israel, it is a test of resolve. And for the international community, it is a reminder of the fragile balance that defines Middle Eastern geopolitics. As observers, we must approach this situation not through the lens of sides or partisanship, but through a commitment to understanding the complexities, appreciating the stakes, and recognizing the shared interest in avoiding devastating conflict. The real question is not only what happens next, but what choices will be made in the coming days to shape that outcome. Will restraint and diplomacy prevail, or will the region inch closer to another cycle of conflict? These are the questions that remain unanswered, and they are questions that demand global attention. As we reflect on these developments, let us remember that behind every strategic calculation are human lives, families, communities, and nations whose futures depend on the decisions of leaders. This is why analysis matters, and why conversations like this are critical for building awareness and fostering dialogue. And that brings us to the end of today's discussion on DANZEL WASHINGTON GOLDEN WORDS. If you found this analysis insightful, make sure to subscribe to the channel, share your thoughts in the comments, and join us in our mission to unpack the world's most complex events with clarity and balance. Until next time, stay informed, stay thoughtful, and remember, the golden words we speak today shape the world we see tomorrow.